Okay, so hopefully this video is a little quick, simple, straight to the point. I'm going to start doing lots of things to the cooling system. We're going to get ourselves a bigger radiator, and we're going to make sure that the whole cooling system is clean and that it works right. And to do that, I am going to install a coolant filter. Not too many people know about these. They're not very common nor popular on most passenger cars. Big trucks, like actual trucks, like semis and things like that, use these so that their coolant lasts longer, especially in fleets. Because, you know, when you're replacing 12 gallons of coolant per truck, you want to make that stuff last as long as you can. Now, usually, coolant filters will have some kind of chemical in them that keeps the stuff lasting longer. But I think there's too much of it for regular engines, and it fucks things up. So you want to get a filter that doesn't have any stuff in it, and I'll go find out what that's called later. But this is just a 5-inch filter. You can also get a 4-inch if you don't want a big one, but I figure for the first one, we'll go big, because this is probably going to catch a lot of crap, because every time I look in the cooling system, there's always brown crap. You open this thing up, and when it's dry, it's just brown shit everywhere, and it looks terrible. And you figure if that's what's in the bottle, you're going to find even more of that all over your system. So, yeah, I want to see if I can clean this up. Now, you're also going to need yourself a filter base. Now, the interesting thing about a coolant filter is that it has a different thread pitch than regular oil filters. That way you don't accidentally screw one on here. I forget what this one is. I don't know if it's like an 11/32 or something weird like that. But it's got a different thread pitch, so make sure that you get a base that has the right pitch. Now with this one, they had two versions. They had a 3/8-inch outlet and a 1/2-inch outlet. I figure we'll go big. That way we have less restriction, and all the restriction is in the filter. Alright, so the parts list is pretty small for this. Our filter base right here, you notice the thread pitch is 11/16 by 16 thread. So that is the regular coolant filter thread size. So the base that I got was 247/63, and that's the one with the 1/2-inch outlet. I don't remember which the one is with the 3/8-inch outlet, but I'm sure you can find it. Now the filter I'm using is a 240/70. Now this is a 5-inch filter. You can also get a 4-inch, and this one doesn't have any chemicals or anything like that in there. If you look on the site or something like that, you should be able to find if it has chemicals in it or not, or just get this version. Besides that, the only other thing you need is 2 hose barbs in order to interface with this this base, and they will be 5/8-inch hose barb to 1/2-inch thread. And I actually found mine at Ace, so here's a picture of what that looks like. So, now that you got that, you can take a look at mounting this thing. So, yeah, basically we're just going to plumb this into our heater core line. This is not considered a full flow filter, which means that you can't put it on your main coolant flow path because it won't flow through here. It'll create too much pressure. You don't want to do that. So what we want to do is you put this on a bypass hose or something. Well, I'm not going to make a separate hose just for this thing. I'm going to run it in line with the heater core, so that way the water comes straight out of the engine through the filter and then goes in the heater core, because that heater core likes to also gather a lot of stuff, and you got to clean it out all the time because it's just full of junk. So we're going to take this guy, we're going to find a good place to mount it, and we're going to mount it on this bottom hose because that's the one that comes out of the thermostat. So that way it's clean before it enters the heater core. And if for some reason it blocks, well, first off, you're not going to ruin your engine because all the rest of the coolant can still flow through the radiator. And second, you can tell because your heat won't work. So if you're not getting any flow and your heat doesn't work, you know you might need to change your filter. Now, for really dirty engines and stuff like this, sometimes people, they'll change the first filter after like 1,000 miles or something like that. But then after that, after the initial filter where it gets all the crap out, every oil change, or maybe even longer. It depends on how dirty your system is, how much you use it, and all that stuff. But I'm excited. That's why I got the big one. So let's figure out where to put the base and where we're going to fit it all. Okay, so in order to do what we have to do, I just took the hose off of this adapter right here. And it's this guy right here. But it's going to have to take a sharp bend like this. I actually learned this from Matt from Bleep and Jeep. Now, if you haven't seen his stuff, I don't know how you haven't come across it because it's all over the internet, but he was making something similar, and he had a tight bend. And you take yourself a spring and put it in there, and what the spring does is it has really good tension on this side, so when it goes to squeeze, it actually holds itself up. So by putting this spring in here, you'll prevent the hose from kinking. You got to twist it in so that it actually will seat in. I'll have to figure out if I have to push it in through the other direction. But that spring's about 4 inches long. So now when you go to do this, you can bend it real tight and it doesn't kink. See where the spring ends, where it kinks over here? So if we can get that about here, we'll be good. I actually took that off scrap parts from the Civic, so hey, everything works. The only thing you want to check is that the spring can't fit into your thinger-dingers. So she won't fit in there, so she won't get all lost in the system. Oh, neat little trick. Okay, so now if we come over here, you notice we got quite the bend on this, but it's still rigid, and you can actually squeeze it and feel where the spring is. So the spring stops here, it starts here, and goes all the way around this bend. And look at that, nice and round, no kinks. That's actually really clever, so thumbs up, Matt. That was awesome. Alright, so now we're going to take our other hose and cut it to length and put some hose clamps on, put those things on, drill a hole in, mount this thing, and we're done. Cool beans. Okay, so we're in the workshop over here. I found me a lovely bolt that I'm going to use. Now, the nice thing is, these holes were drilled out to 5/16, but that is the perfect hole for tapping to the next size up, which is a 3/8 by 16. So I tapped it out. And now we don't have to worry about trying to attach a nut on the bottom, because that is going to be a royal pain. So that way now you can just fucking throw the bolt in there and you're good to go. Bingo bango. Okay, you want to get yourself some thread sealant of some type, liquid Teflon or whatever you need, and seal up these threads so that way they don't leak on you. Once you've done that, you're done. Cool. So we got our plugs tightened in the back. They were 3/8 inch hex. So get yourself an Allen wrench and tighten the goober up. Now we can install. Okay, so I drilled the hole out to a 3/8, and holy shit, that actually took quite a while. I was surprised. It's a little thicker than I imagined. I also cut the hole a little too far in, so my hole didn't line up. So I had to take a little chunk out with a grinder. So now it lines up. And since it's threaded, all we do is screw the bolt in. It holds it in place. Cool. Okay, so here we go. So if we follow our path, we come out of the thermostat housing over here. We go through an adapter, because this is 3/4. It brings it down to 5/8. And then we can go into our 5/8 fitting that has a 1/2 inch thread. So a 1/2 inch thread goes into the filter. It goes on the outside through all the medium, and when it gets pushed through, it goes in through the middle. And then the middle goes into this fitting, which goes into the bottom of the heater core, out of the heater core to the water pump. So there you go. And with those springs, you can see that it really helps this from kinking. It's nice and round. It's very, very good. So that's actually really fucking cool. So now you just make sure that your mating surface is clean. Oh, I also forgot to mention the bolt back here does work, but there is one minor issue. There's not a whole lot of clearance, so you can't really get a socket on there. I had to do some goofy stuff with a wrench. But she's on there nice and tight now, so the threaded portion did work quite well. So now, we just take our coolant filter, spin it on, actually I want to get it wet first just to make sure that there's definitely a good seal on there, but after that, we'll start it up. There we go. So now for the fun part. Let's see what happens when we start it up. Cool. Well, we'll let it run for a little bit, and we'll check the temperature, make sure everything's flowing properly. Alright, so there you go. That's how you install yourself a coolant filter with a base and wire it up to the Jeep. So everything looks good. No problems there. I probably should have checked if the hood closes, but it should. So, you know, I might update this a little bit and let you know if I find anything out, but I won't really be able to see anything unless I cut the damn thing open. So, you know. So I guess the air bubbles finally worked their way out. It's a little gross in there. By a little, I mean a lot. I think there's an entire glob of, yeah, sediment in there. I don't know what all this stuff is. I wonder how much the filter picked up. I wonder if it's clogged by now. Look at that. It's completely just brown with shit. What the fuck is all this stuff, man? I want it out of my radiator, out of my cooling system, out of everything. Ugh. So dirty. I got most of the shit out, but some of it still likes to be stuck on the wall, so oh well. So if that's just sitting in there, imagine how much is in all this system. It's kind of frightening. So I'm really glad that this filter's on here. Hopefully this does some good stuff. And if I ever notice that the heater core is getting clogged, or you know, I hit whatever predetermined mileage I feel like hitting, I'm gonna cut this open and see how well it did. I'd probably cut it open sooner, but I got the 5-inch, so since this is the bigger one, it should be able to hold some more material. But yeah, I'll definitely let you know what's inside there. I'm a little worried, honestly. So we'll see how this goes. But right now, I'm really happy with this. This is really cool. So I feel a lot better about my cooling system, and very soon we're going to be upgrading the radiator. So as soon as I find all the crap for that and feel like getting around to it, hopefully we'll have a cleaner system to work with.